Okay, just to pick up where I left off, this is video number 3 uh, concerning the Asbury revival and just kind of the things that the Lord had shown me. So let me backtrack for a second here. Let me go do the first one first. So I remember back, and this was a long time ago, probably 18, 19 years ago, and I used to have just a radio station playing in the background at work, and it was a Christian station. And they had, I don't remember who it was, if it was like Charles Stanley or somebody like that, one of those mainstream, non-Pentecostal, non-really evangelical kind of guy. And they were citing a study that had been done in how this latest generation, which would be like a generation ago now, but how this latest generation was, I don't know how to say this. Basically, America was in fear of losing its Christian roots. The youth were not going to church and blah, 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 blah. And they were all just very concerned about it, where, honestly, in the natural, that's very concerning. And so as I'm working, I'm kind of praying. It's like, Lord, that is concerning. What's going on? What are we going to do to save America as Christianity? All this stuff. It's like the hubris of thinking that we're going to, save something that the God's just, oh no, what's going on? I can't save it myself. It's, it's funny looking back. But anyway, so I was praying about this and praying about it and, legitly concerned. And it was almost like God was laughing at me, and he's like, don't worry about it. I got this thing covered. I'm not going to let, America go to hell in a handbasket. I'm not going to let a whole generation go wayward. And what he kind of demonstrated to me that I thought was kind of cool looking back at it in retrospect is that, and that's ironically, I didn't plan this, but that's going to be explained a little bit more in my next little part that I explain, is that he doesn't want the youth coming into the church the way the church was at that point, and still is to a huge degree, is he didn't want them to come into a religious establishment. What he wanted to do was woo them in a loving relationship with him. And I'm like, wow, that's cool, Lord. I like that. So basically what he was showing me is that the let's call it strength of the church as America knew it at that point, which at that point was becoming mega churches and very charismatic pastors and the Holy Spirit and Jesus were kind of having to take a back seat because we had all these programs, we had all this stuff on church growth, read this book, do this thing, dress cool. It irritates me that all these pastors nowadays look like it's a competition to who can look like Fabio, what in the world? But it was all about church growth based on what our carnal man was telling us is appealing to these kids. And what Jesus or the Holy Spirit was showing me is that that's not going to be what happens. Is there's going to be a definite falling away because this generation of kids is hungry for truth. They're hungry for honesty. They see through hypocrisy right now, and it disgusts them. And he is going to let that fall away from the established religious churches, and then he's going to come back in a way where he's going to woo them, he's going to draw them, there's going to be a passion for it. And it's not going to be churchy kids. It's going to be the goth kids. It's going to be the trans kids. It's going to be these kids that have had no identity. And he is drawing them because he loves them just as much. And he is drawing them, and there's going to be this just crushing of the walls that has been established and built between the churchy people and the lost of the world. And he was showing me it's just going to be tremendous when it happens. And it's going to be organic, and it's going to be something where he woos them in and their hearts are just broken. And instead of seeing church and instead of seeing what hypocritical Christians have demonstrated church and Jesus to be to these kids, it's going to be Jesus without that filter. And it's going to be amazing. So that's pretty awesome. This went longer than I thought. So I'm going to just quit there.